Hi everyone, welcome to tonight's Taubmans live colour advice session. My name is Fiona and I'm the Taubmans colour specialist. Look, apologies for last week. I'm very sorry that we couldn't conduct a session. I had no voice. I think it was from being away and talking too much. So we're back tonight, which is fantastic. And if you are joining us for the first time, I welcome you. And for those that are regulars, it's great to have you back. So before we begin, I just want to mention a couple of sessions that we've had previously. So if you have had a chance, or I'm not sure whether you have watched it, if you haven't, I thoroughly recommend, I should say, having a look at it. It was a session that we did, it would be 3 weeks ago now because I missed last week, with James Treble, a fantastic interior designer and TV presenter, and his wealth of knowledge for colour and colour application, talking about interiors and exteriors, is just phenomenal. And it was a really good session, so I would encourage you to go back and watch that session. And also to the session that we did a couple of weeks ago live from the Colorsmith studio in Clifton Hill, Victoria, was fantastic. So I was there with the resident interior designer, Charlotte, and myself and Charlotte. We conducted a bit of a session talking about what you can expect if you were to visit the Colorsmith studio. It's all about that space is all about creating flat lays, creating your own colours. It's a fantastic experience. And so what we will do is we'll pop a link into the feed so that you can get in touch with Charlotte and book your own colour consultancy for sure. And also too, I'd encourage you to watch the live session that we had there, so you get a feel for what happens within that space. It's a truly unique, remarkable space. I absolutely loved my time there, and I can give you a little bit of a sneak peek and let you know that we'll be doing another session from there in the not so distant future. So what else? I've got a list of things in front of me so that I do not go off track. Hi Karen, thank you very much for joining us. Okay, so for the way we roll, and I'll quickly run through this for anybody that's new watching our session. So I'm on screen for the next half an hour, and it is a fantastic time for you to pop your questions into the feed, and I will do my best to answer them for you, because this is what this is all about. We're certainly here to answer colour questions, but also questions relating to projects, because we understand that it's not just colour specific. You're going to be embarking on a project, so we're here to help you with that. And then of course we have a wonderful portfolio of products that have been designed to protect and beautify your space, so I can certainly give you some information about those. And we've got another not a question, but a hi. Hi, Jenna. Thank you for joining us. And she has said that she visited the Colorsmith studio today and it was amazing and you highly recommend it. That is fantastic to hear. Wonderful. So I'm getting quite a few highs. Hi, Peter. Thank you for joining us. So fantastic. So it's good to be back. So I thought tonight's session, look, I've been out and about, and this is something that I'm asked quite a lot. And this is something that I experience with our customers. You'll see me either standing at the colour wall or whether you've, you asked something online. So this is very, very relative. And I'm going to talk about how lighting can affect your colour, because I do know from being, a colour specialist and really getting out there, and from having years and years of working with colour and colour consulting, I understand how lighting will change the look of your colour. And that's why for me, when I'm consulting, I make sure that I look at my colours in daylight. I don't particularly like to have lights on when I'm putting together a flat lay or putting together a colour scheme, etc. It needs to be natural light. So I have put together a few slides just trying to emulate what natural light looks like, and then obviously looking at a cool light, a warm light, just to give you an idea. Hi Roger, thank you very much for joining us. Okay, so great to have you on board, Roger. Okay, so I've got notes here so that I try and keep myself on track. So let me just talk about, okay, I've just gone off track here. Rightio, so lighting is a big factor when we're selecting colour, as I said, and the various light sources can play with the overall look and feel of your colour. Now, I recently it was only on Monday, I spoke with a consumer at our colour wall, and they had selected a colour but viewed the colour or the sample of their colour under their kitchen light. So they looked at it at night time, which, you know, that's okay because obviously lighting's going to affect it. But to get the real understanding of the colour, daylight is the way to go. So when they started to paint the wall colour, it was not what they thought it was going to be because they were not looking at it. They looked at the colour at night time and then they're painting throughout the day. So the colour's going to look different and it started to look a little bit warmer. So I thought, look, let's nut this out and let's talk it through. So I'm quickly going to, okay, I do have a question. Hi Karen, I'll just go through that. So yeah, we are owner builders and we will need to choose colours for our entire house. So we're a little overwhelmed, I can understand that, and a flat lay sounds like a great idea to start. It really is a fantastic way to collate and put all of your elements that are going to go into your design. So a flat lay per se is, you know, for example, if you're doing an exterior, you're going to have a sample of your, let's say, your roof colour, maybe a sample of your window colour, your garage door, a sample of the exterior colour of your render, you know, perhaps if you've got timber that's going to feature, and you lay them all out and you pop them all together, and then you can sort of get an understanding, or it gives you a visual of how everything within that space is going to look. And it works equally as well when you're doing an interior and you're grabbing things like, for me, it might be a tile, carpet, you know, if you're doing a kitchen as well, it's your joinery, your bench top, it's all those sorts of elements, even right down to a colour of your door handles, tapware, etc. Putting it all into that one area and having a look. And lots of moving parts, but you can then understand how it's going to look. You can pop more elements in, you can subtract. But what you can also do when you do your flat lay is you can lay all of your elements out, and then you can use, if anybody has been watching me throughout all these sessions, I use a tool that's called a Colorsmith reader, and you can use the reader to scan an element, and then from that you can create colour, because I know that finding that right tonally correct colour to work with what you have in front of you can sometimes be a little bit daunting, and it's not always that easy. The other tip that I will give you, Karen, when you are, okay, I'm just being told that we're having bad connection. I'll just wait and see. I seem to be, I'll just check mine. No, I've got all of my internet's going. Can somebody in the back office there, please? Just let me know if we're looking okay online. Yep, I'm just getting some feedback. I'll just hear before I continue talking. We're fine. Fantastic. Okay, sorry about that. So going back to your flat lay, now I'm going to lose my train of thought again. We're talking about putting all of your elements in, using Colorsmith to create colour, but also too, if you're going to go into your local hardware store, let's say you're going to go hop into Bunnings and you're going to have a look at colours and you're going to look at whites, greys, etc. If you pick, so whites you can categorise as you've got a warmer white, a cool white, and then more of a neutral white. So if you're looking at more of a neutral toned white, you'll find that it's very accommodating depending on whether what you have laid out in front of you sort of airs on more of a cooler tone or a warmer tone. So, and the easiest way when you're standing at the hardware at the colour wall is look for a colour chip called Brilliant White. So when I say this is stock standard white straight out of the can. I mean no disrespect to that, because our white contains a huge amount of titanium dioxide. So it gives you exceptional coverage. So it covers really, really well. But a Brilliant White colour chip, and then start to stack your other colour chips on top of the white, and you can start to see the undertone. Another tip is to go prepared. Just take with you a piece of, what have I got here? A piece of white computer paper, and then you can put your colour chips in front of that as well, and you'll start to see the undertone. So that's a little bit of a tip, Karen. I'm happy to talk more. If you want to know something else, please pop it into the feed and I'll be happy to help you further. I will let you know that at the end of this, I've got, I'm going to take you through a few colour trends, and you can sort of see how I've started to lay out some colours and some things which might give you a little bit of inspiration as well. Okay, so back to lighting. So what I have done is I've put together some slides because I really like to show visually how things look and how colour looks, and I think for everybody watching at home it kind of helps. So I'm going to go from my laptop to my, let's just see where I am. Let's pop the old iPad up. Fantastic. Okay, so in front of you, I might just pop myself up in the corner so you can see me. Beautiful. Okay, so in front of you, we have quite a bright, well, on my screen, it almost looks sort of maroon, but on that screen there, it's almost looking a little bit fuchsia-like. But anyhow, it's quite a bright tone, and obviously you can see that image there of what is sort of reminiscent of the sun. So it's depicting looking at colour in natural light, because it's really, really, really important. And I cannot stress that enough. And I know I'm going to say that quite a few times tonight, just to reiterate it. Now the next slide, whoops, let's just hope this works. Goodness me. Go again. The next slide shows what a cool light will do to that colour. So if you're viewing your colour under a cool light, because of the cool light tends to have a little bit more blue, you're going to see quite a blue tinge to your colour. Now this just isn't with colour per se, this happens with whites, etc. as well, just to let you know, but I thought I would use a colour as such just because it's quite impacting when we go through the next slide. Okay, slide 3, you can see that colour starting to warm up, because a warm light contains a lot of yellow. So, or it emits quite a lot of yellow, sort of a goldeny sort of hue. So it will make the colour warmer. Here's another slide. Now on this slide, you can see the middle colour is what we'll say daylight. And then to one side, you've got that warmer, and then you've got the cooler, and you can start to see how the colour is changing due to the light. Okay, let's have another look. Again, natural light, cool light, warm light. You can see how the colour changes. This is why it's really, really important to understand that when you are viewing your colour, to ensure that you use as much natural light as you can, because overhead lighting, whether it's, you know, cool or warm, will distort the colour. So, and the last thing I want is to recommend a colour to you, you're trialling it at home, and then you're completely disappointed because it's looking not the way it should look. So when you're beginning your colour journey, again, view your colours in daylight. And if you're standing at, this is what I quite often do when I'm in store with customers, I will walk them outside or walk them next to the window where there is no artificial lighting, so you can really see how the colour's going to look. Okay, so let me take you through. And the best bit of advice I can give you, and I say this every week, so I'm going to say it again, is get yourself a sample pot of your colour. Get yourself a large piece of cardboard. Now, generally in most Bunnings stores, the paint comes on pallets, and in between the layers of paint, they have what they call pallet liners, so large pieces of cardboard. If you can get yourself a piece of cardboard and have it, or cut it to 1 metre by 1 metre square, brush out 3 coats of the colour onto the cardboard, and then trial the colour in natural light first, and then daylight, and you'll start to see how the colour changes. And then that way, there's no surprises, you're very well educated on what your colour is going to look like. Okay, so something else to consider. Here we go again. It is not only lighting that will affect your colour. It is the sheen level that you choose for your paint. So for me, when I talk about front doors, and I'll use this analogy, I mean, I love a coloured front door, and you'll hear me talking about glossing up the front door. And because what that does is when you're using a gloss finish, it tends to intensify the colour a little bit. So you can see on the screen, I've got 2 colour chips, obviously one more intense and then a whiter colour. And what I do is grab a colour chip off the colour wall, and then I get a piece of clear sticky tape and I put it over half of the colour chip. And then when you move it around, you can start to see what the colour is going to look like if you were to gloss it up, so to speak. And you can see it on the screen there. You can see that when you're glossing up a colour, it does intensify. And again, for a front door, gloss it up all the way. It looks marvellous. Now, the other thing also to consider is that, let me just see what I've put here as well, how matte a matte sheen level can also change the colour. But what a matte tends to do, it tends to lighten up the colour. So it tends to make your colour look a little bit lighter. So the variance in sheen level is due to the way light reflects. So a smooth gloss finish reflects all the light, whereas a matte finish, due to its rough surface, breaks up the light and scatters it in several directions. Hence you end up with, a paler looking colour. So it's really important to understand how colour will be affected by variant sheen levels. So not only lighting, but sheen levels. So there's two really important things to consider. Now I do want to, as well, I might as well while I'm here, continue, and then I'm going to, okay, hi Tracy, I'll come back off, I'll put myself back on screen. Okay, hi Tracy, thank you very much for joining us tonight. So, if going all walls, trim, skirting, etc., should the wall colour be the same, just different sheens? Look, I love that look. I think it looks fantastic. So if you, if you've got I'll give you a couple of scenarios. So if you have a smaller space and you're wanting to create the illusion of more space, using that one colour, even using, like if we're talking white here, using the same colour on your ceiling, but using the appropriate ceiling paint, so it will be a flat, and then using the same colour on your wall, so you can choose whether you want to go matte or low sheen. And then for your doors and trims, using the same colour again. This time I'd be using a water-based enamel so that it stays nice and white, it's not going to yellow. And then you could change the sheen level going to, a semi-gloss or a gloss, entirely up to you. But because of the varying sheen levels, as I've just discussed, you will get a slight variance in the depth, if you like, of colour, and it looks fantastic. So you certainly can do that, and I thoroughly recommend it. And to be honest, I do that the majority of the time in most of our houses that we've lived in. I think it works extremely well, very easy to live with. And then you've got the option of, if you're wanting to create a hero in your space and inject some colour, you can do that by even injecting colour onto doors or feature walls. I know we've had many conversations on this platform regarding feature walls. Are they in? Are they not? Look, I'm a big lover of colour, and I'm also a big lover of, it's entirely up to you. It is your space. It's your home. It's a reflection of you. We're just here to guide you with how to put colours together and what's going to work. So for sure, do it all the way, Tracy. I think it looks fantastic. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to take you through is, I want to, while we're here, touch on colours that are trending. So look, we're really starting to see some beautiful hues coming to play within the colour world. So I thought I would share a couple of my new favourites tonight. Look, I have to admit, I'm going to be really honest here, I've never been a lover of creamy sort of tones. I've always preferred something that's more neutral, so it's more of a slight green-grey undertone. But I'm actually starting to really love the more cream, the warmer tones that you could say are being attributed or associated with that modern Mediterranean aesthetic that is trending quite heavily at the moment. And I also, I believe that the layering of whites can look fabulous. And I really think that some of the colours moving forward, like we're starting to see, and I've talked about this before, beautiful travertines, and we're starting to see the terrazzos and the beautiful tones that are within those sort of elements. And also sort of the warm almond tones, and then going into sort of the muted pinks and the baked terracottas and those slight greens that sit on the edge of a blue-grey. They just look beautiful. So what I've put together, and I will share my screen. Let me just bring myself back up in the corner. So I've put together some of the colours that I think look fantastic. And so you can see there the colour called Aria Ivory. It is a beautiful tone, and it sits extremely well with travertine. Then you've got the Palm Frond, even Grey Goose. When you start looking at terrazzo and some of the flecks that sort of run through that, they look superb. And then obviously the Creamy Chocolate and the Fetching Pink, just beautiful, beautiful tones. And look, I look at this palette and I think you could easily achieve some wonderful spaces. Certainly if you are looking to do a nursery, I think there's some beautiful, let's just say gender neutral, really neutral tones that would work for either, you know, whether you're having a little girl or a little boy. Some beautiful tones here as well if you're wanting to create. I know that when you're starting to look at bathrooms, pinks are really playing out very well within that bathroom space. So I think that fetching pink could look fantastic. Look, creamy chocolate, a beautiful, beautiful tone. And I think for a bedroom, that would just be divine. Also too, you know, if you're wanting to saturate your space with colour, something like that would look fantastic for a theatre room, you know, like a living room. So, you know, there's quite a few there. So I've also just put together, I've taken some of the tones that are trending at the moment and just put together a little bit of a, it's not a flat lay per se, but, you know, it's kind of a little bit of a version where you've got lots of different elements sitting together. Like you can sort of see rattan, fluted timber is really, really big, and I think it is a fantastic way to inject some warmth into a space. Excuse me. And then you've got your different finishes, whether you choose to do, you know, a brushed nickel, or you're wanting to go black for, say, handles, tapware, etc. So there's just, I think that's a really easy to live with and a really easy to work with palette. So there are a few colours there hoping to inspire you. I'm happy to pop something like that into the feed at the end of the night if you're wanting to have a look and you're wanting to have a look at those colours. So I might stop sharing my screen. I'll come back on and I'm just going to go over and see whether we have any questions. Okay. Let me just have a look while I'm sitting here. No, maybe not. I don't think there's anything else coming through at this point in time. That's okay. So I've touched on a few things tonight. The biggest thing when I talked about sample potting your colour, and I neglected to mention there are two areas that I recommend trying inside. So once you have your metre by a metre square piece of cardboard that has been painted with 3 coats and it's now dry. So the two areas, so you've got your wall, you've got your ceiling. If you put your piece of card up here, so it's, you know, sitting up against the ceiling, you're going to be able to see how that colour plays in natural light, but also too, you'll see how it's going to change when the lights go on, when you've got that artificial lighting. The other place to put your colour as well, so you've got your wall, you've got your floor, is to put your colour down here, sitting up against the wall, touching the floor. Now, the reason you put it there is because, for example, we've touched on lighting, we've touched on sheen level, but there are other elements that will contribute to your colour changing. And that may be, you may have timber flooring and you may receive a lot of natural light. So you've got a beautiful warm timber floor. That timber floor is going to project onto your wall colour and potentially warm that colour up. Not only that, and I use this analogy all the time and I'll use it again, if you have furniture and window furnishings, let's pretend that you have a red leather lounge and you've got sunlight on that, you can guarantee that your wall at some time during the day is going to look slightly pink. So it's taking into consideration the other elements within your design. So really, really important to understand how your lighting will affect. Now, for example, if you have a room, and you know, let's talk white, let's touch on this for a moment. So you've got a room that receives a huge amount of natural sunlight. Pick a white that is either very neutral or a white that is more cooler based, because cooler based whites work really well in sun drenched spaces. If you have a room that lacks light, I would suggest selecting a white that is quite warm, because a warmer white within that space is going to warm the space up. If you use, let's say, a white that has a blue undertone in a space that lacks a lot of light, it's actually going to look very dull and it's going to contribute to that room feeling quite gloomy. So there's a couple of other tips there to think about when you are embarking on your colour journey. So, and the other thing I would certainly recommend is, look, we have a fantastic website. So if you're not sure about where to start when you're you know, starting your colour journey. Obviously, going to your local Bunnings store, Bristol store, Taubmans Trade Centre, one of your local hardware stores where they have a Taubmans colour wall, and selecting colours off the wall is a great way to start. You know, for example, I'll use the ones in Bunnings. They're all laid out. You know, you can see where you've got your warm whites versus more of your neutral going into your cooler whites, and then you've got you know, the colours are grouped, so you've got your greens and your blues, etc. So it makes it very easy to shop. Not only that's quite visually appealing, but so you've got the colour wall to work from. You've also got our Taubmans Colour Together magazine. There's lots of colour information in that as well. And you'll also find brochures, you know, called Trends. The Trends have what is trending at the moment. I'm just grabbing one now. So our trends here, talking about some fantastic colours in here. You know, you've got your bold, you've got your contemporary colours. You also have your Scandinavian and your Hamptons. But also too, when you go down and you have a look at the colour wall, excuse me, you've got the free Colour Together magazine. It has our latest 2022 to 2024 colour forecast, titled Chromatic Joy. So there are some beautiful tones in there to help you on your colour journey. Now also, if you go to www.taubmans.com.au and you'll land on a landing page, very easy to navigate. So you've got a tab that will say colours, then projects, etc. Colours, then products. So if you hover over the colours, and then you can go down and you'll find that all the colours are grouped by colour family. So you've got your whites and your neutrals, and you've got your blacks, blues, greens. So it makes it very easy when you're embarking on that colour journey. I also said they've got products, so when you hit the drop down, it will guide you. So if you're looking for ceiling paint, or you're looking for preparation products, you're looking for interior broad wall, exterior doors and trims, you can just click on that, and then it will give you our portfolio of products associated with each project that you're going to embark on. So a really easy and fantastic tool, especially when you're starting your colour journey. So hi Caroline, thank you very much for joining us. So your question is, if we are looking at exterior white, would you look at cool or warm whites? Oh, that is such a good question, and we talk a lot about exterior whites. So I suppose there's a lot that comes into play. So if you go for, it's also, so there's quite a few things. It's going to depend on what you're working with, because sometimes that will depict on the way you need to go. For example, you know, it will depend on the colour of your roof, your windows, you know, let's just say whether you're rural or whether you're coastal. There's all of those things that I like to take into consideration when recommending colour. But when we're talking about whites as well, I guess for me personally, because I live in Queensland where we are, you know, unfortunately we have a lot of sun all the time. It's very hard to live with. I'm being sarcastic there. It's beautiful. But if you get a lot of sun and a lot of sunlight onto the exterior of your home, if you go too cool, you're going to find that it can be quite glary. So I'm going to reference a colour, and this is something that I talk about all the time. I'm just reading another question there. If you have a look at Surf Mist, which is one of the most popular exterior whites. It is a colour bond colour, and it performs beautifully on an external application. And when you first look at it, you'll go, oh, that doesn't look really white. But what happens to whites when they are placed outside is they tend to bleach out. So once the sunlight hits them, they tend to bleach out, dilute out. So they will actually look a lot lighter and brighter than what they can be, if that makes sense. So for me, when I'm looking at whites, and this is something that I talk about a lot, and it all depends on the way your house faces, where you're situated. As I said, you know, for me in Queensland, this is what I reference. So every colour has what they call an LRV, which is a light reflectance value. So for me, when you're looking at colour, so white, I look at a colour that has a light reflectance value from about 65 to 80. So taking into account that 100 is bright white and then 0 is black. So it sort of goes up. So 65 to 75, pushing it to 80 is going to be a good place to start. And the reason I say that is because it does have enough tint in the actual colour to, I suppose you could say, absorb some of that glare. So stop that glariness. If you go too bright, you're going to find, so Brilliant White I think sits at, I think it's 92.5. So that's Brilliant White, which is our white colour chip. Our straight white colour chip, if you like. So if you were to use that outside on a broad wall, you wouldn't be able to walk past it without having your sunglasses on. It would be quite uncomfortable. Great colour for trims, but certainly not for an overall wall. So Caroline, to answer your question, I hope that's helped you a little bit. Depending on, I mean, you're certainly welcome to pop something else into the feed and let me know, even, you know, if you let me know where you're situated, sort of, you know, whether you receive a lot of natural light, etc. And then I can certainly offer some further suggestions if you like. But for everybody else out there, look, Surf Mist is a great white to begin with. Okay, I do have a couple more questions, but I'm out of time. So what I will do is I'm going to go off the screen and then I will sit behind the computer and answer the rest of the questions for you. So thank you everybody for joining us tonight. It's been a great session. I've thoroughly enjoyed the questions that are coming through and that are still coming through, and look forward to everybody coming back, or I look forward to joining you all again next week, I should say. So have a fantastic week, have a fantastic weekend, and enjoy some fantastic weather and get into some paint projects. So until next week, everybody, take care. And as I always sign off with, happy painting, everybody. Good night. Bye.